So I'm coming to you today with a question about the future of MMOs. Should we be excited or really nervous? Earlier in 2022, I covered the announcement of Project TL being thrown in Liberty, which was a game that has long been in development by NCSoft. It is an upcoming MMO in Unreal Engine that was supposed to launch in 2022, but has actually now been moved to the first half of 2023. At the time, I also mentioned concerns about a companion MMO that had been announced alongside Project TL, and that was Project E. We didn't have a lot of details about Project E, and we still don't have a lot of details about Project E, but it was a little weird to think of, hey, why are they making two MMORPGs? Could NCSoft be splitting their own audience? Well, since then, it's gotten worse or better. That's kind of what I'm not sure. I'm honestly really not sure what to make of the announcements we've been getting from NCSoft over the last couple months. There's just been a deluge of news from them, some on purpose and some not so much on purpose. But there's concerns about this not just because of the number of games they are announcing, but also the history of the company. A lot of MMO players over the years have been riled up over the closing of MMOs that were fan favorites like City of Heroes, Wildstar, and Tabula Rasa. The last in that list resulting in a lawsuit with none other than Lord British, Richard Garriott, who went on to make this game, and I don't know that he used his money that well. So, there are some issues with NCSoft, just as a company. But what MMO company doesn't have issues? I mean, one of my favorite companies has closed games like Star Wars Galaxies and Vanguard Saga of Heroes, two games that I don't think should have closed. One of them makes sense with the whole, licensing. The other one, that was mean. But let's go over all these announcements and pseudo announcements we've seen from NCSoft over the last couple months to kind of try and get up to speed with what we have going, what's going to be happening with the latest announcement happening just this past month. Now, Throne in Liberty is the game on this list that has been in development the longest. It's also the one most likely to release soon. The story of Throne in Liberty is one for the history books, as to my knowledge, it may be the game that has been in the development the longest. At least, okay, for an MMO, maybe. Probably not. It was officially announced all the way back in 2011 as Lineage Eternal with accompanying gameplay. It was later delayed and reworked, and the engine was changed over to Unreal Engine 4, becoming Project TL in 2017. The name Throne in Liberty was officially revealed in early 2022 alongside an announcement video. Throughout the year, we got further details on the game's focus on weather-altering players' abilities, strong storytelling, animal transformations, and what looked like some pretty interesting siege mechanics. Now, it's important to note that this was actually supposed to be a Lineage title. This was going to be essentially Lineage 3, but they reworked it and created a brand new IP over that long development process. And back in September, they held a company internal beta test, which included 3,000 employees and executives, but there's two things that stood out for me in this. First, that NCSoft has so many freaking employees. And two, why are they only now holding an internal playtest for a game that is supposed to be launching soon, that was actually supposed to be launching this year? The long development period, coupled with a short public testing period where they could actually get data from players and find out if players are enjoying what they're making, has me a little concerned. But what do I know? I'm just a YouTube player, an MMO player that's been playing MMOs for like 2 decades, and I've spent a lot of my life playing MMOs. It remains to be seen if Throne in Liberty will make a mark on the MMO space, but with such a lengthy development, rework, and being one of the first and perhaps the largest MMOs launching in 2023, it's got a lot riding on it and will have a lot of eyes early on. The game looks solid with some traditional MMO mechanics, a mix of PvE and PvP, along with the aforementioned weather effects, which can be modified by players, and a day-night cycle that will matter. In talking about the project, NCSoft has talked about appealing to many different audiences, as well as trying to create something new and challenging, not just min-maxing. A focus on story content and what sounds like social cooperative gameplay appear to be at the core of what Throne in Liberty is promising. All good things if they can pull them off. But perhaps the most unexpected part of this announcement came with the companion piece. Why announce one MMO when you can announce two in the same world at the same time, but not releasing at the same time? Project E was announced alongside Throne and Liberty without a ton of details. Project E has been revealed to be inspired by East, and the two aesthetics of the game reflect this, with Throne and Liberty being Western inspired and Project E being Eastern inspired. While there will be some core events that happen in both worlds, such as an attempt to seal God during the War of the Old Gods, they are also their own separate games. Now, this Project E is not to be confused with Tencent's Project E, which I believe launched around 2018-2019. From the sound of it, this game from NCSoft is a fully fledged MMO, but it's not entirely sure how interconnected it is with Throne and Liberty, or how it will differentiate itself, if at all, from the game's mechanics. Or will it just be the aesthetics? There are no dates and there's very little information about Project E. At this point, we're left to only wildly speculate. Who knows, maybe you'll be able to unlock portals to transfer you from one game to the next. NCSoft obviously has some plans for these two games to coexist. They wouldn't just copy a game and put different aesthetic on it and call it a day, right? There's a reason for launching two MMOs beyond this demographic likes knights in shining armor, and this demographic likes katanas. But what if instead of two MMOs launching, NCSoft launched 3 MMOs? NCSoft and Sony shocked us all with news that they are working on a Horizon Zero Dawn MMO together, working hand in hand with Sony's big push in the next few years to move deeper into live service games. They appear to be working together with NCSoft to bring one of their biggest IPs to a larger market. There are scant details with this MMO, with perhaps even less than with Project E, because it was only recently reported on by a few different news outlets, but what we do know is that it's Project H, and that it is currently ramping up hiring for the game. It's entirely possible Project H won't interfere too much with NCSoft's other two upcoming MMOs, as the playstyle could be drastically different. It could lean more into the Destiny 2 style of MMO, seeing as Sony now owns Bungie and seems quite happy with the purchase. But hey, at least that's it, right? Like, NCSoft wouldn't be trying the MMO market again that quickly, right? They're not going to go and do a 4th MMO. What the actual what is this? What is happening with NCSoft? From complete silence on games and closing of games to 4 upcoming MMOs, 4 different upcoming MMOs. But this one's launching worldwide in 2024. So you have Throne and Liberty in 2023 and Project LLL launching in 2024. So over the next 2 years, we're gonna have 2 new MMOs from NCSoft. What the fuck is happening? Project LLL was announced recently by NCSoft as a completely new genre, built out of the looter shooter and battle royale genres, an open world MMO shooter. It is being built in the latest Unreal Engine, and the third-person shooter will be coming to both PC and console. Its setting will be sci-fi, but they've mentioned it falls under the subgenre of alternative history. Alternative history? It's got freaking robot dogs. Look at this thing. It's like Boston Dynamics actually started caring about aesthetics. I mean, I kind of want to pet it. Now, watching the trailer, presumably gameplay trailer, I had some immediate red flags. Looking at the non-responsive NPCs here, for example, it just kind of feels off. It's something about it feels off, especially for something that's trying to showcase the game. I don't know how else really to explain it. And perhaps that's kind of because I'm a little jaded when it comes to this, and a little jaded when it comes to upcoming releases with how they present the games in trailers. But at least, I guess, normally I expect the trailers to be better than what the actual release is, and this, I don't know, something's weird. The third-person controls and movement feel a bit stiff, like you're more of a turret than the free-flowing movement of another FPS like Halo. That said, there's a lot of cool things going on here as well. The environment looks engaging, especially when you get out into what looks to be some multiplayer gameplay, like right here. And honestly, how can you go wrong when you have giant mechs? Project LLL looks like it could be an interesting entry into the MMO space, and it's exciting to hear it might be coming so soon. Just over a year and a half, something like that, depending on when it launches in 2024. But hey, I mean, at least all you have to contend with in this game are mechs, right? Like, you can handle mechs with your turret-like skills and everything like that. Like, for good or ill, NCSoft is setting itself up to be a dominant player in the MMO space for really what sounds like the next decade. It's hard to tell if any of these games, or all of them, will have sticking power. Will they bring something new or not at all? Many of them we don't have much information on, like Project E and Project H, and even the ones that are coming soon, we don't have things like the payment models and stuff like that. There are key missing pieces of information, and none of us have really gotten to test them. If I was to bet on any of these games to really hang around, it's probably gonna be the one we know least about, Project H. And the reason why I say that is because of it being an established IP, which will have significant money involved, and the involvement of Sony as well as NCSoft, and Sony's push and eagerness to get into the live game service market. It seems like that's something that they want to devote to and look at. And honestly, if in a few years after Project H launches and it closes unceremoniously because the two companies making it have a history of closing MMOs, well, then you can come back to this video and point it out. But what do you think? That's what I want to know. Are you concerned about so many MMOs coming from one place? Are you excited that at least there is a bunch of new games in the next couple years? Or do any of them stand out as being particularly interesting to you? Throne and Liberty, for example, or Project LLL. Are you interested in a third-person shooter MMO? NCSoft seems to be leaning heavily into this idea that MMOs will have subgenres, and the player base might split and fracture among them all, and thus you'll be able to have multiple players filling up your games. We may be now in an era where the giant MMO is no longer the thing that is required. Maybe the smaller MMOs are what you want. Take a look at Mortal Online 2 and what they've talked about with how they really only need about, 8,000 players to be profitable and sustainable. That's not much to ask for an MMO when you actually get down to it. And it is a far cry from the millions that have been playing other MMOs. For now, for me, I'm just excited to see new games. Apart from anything else, it gives me things to cover on this channel, which is good with me, but I'm also a little worried to see them all coming from the same place, because if, let's say, Throne and Liberty fails, does that mean that they cancel Project E? Does that mean that they cancel Project H or Project LLL? Or does it mean that those leashes on those games is a little bit tighter? But the other part of it, the part that I'm really concerned about is, what is the monetization gonna be? I'm always concerned when I don't know monetization for games that are coming out, when it is not very clearly stated. Is one of the things that I liked about some of these upcoming crowdfunded games, like when Embers Adrift was launching, and how one of their big things was no cash shop and using subscription fees to pay for their game. I think similar games like Pantheon Rise of the Fallen has also promised no cash shop. We don't know if Throne and Liberty is going to be Lost Ark, or if it's going to be New World, or if it's going to be Diablo freaking Immortal. Hopefully, they may look at one of their other successful games with ArenaNet as their developer, Guild Wars 2, and maybe give a more customer-friendly payment model. I personally love buy-to-play when it works. But I did actually cover the subject of pay-to-win. You know, a little bit scary covering that subject in the gaming space. I did it not too long ago, and you can find that video here. So if you want to go over there, watch the video, and vehemently disagree with me, you're more than welcome to. You can also see why that I pay to be mediocre. My name is Redbeard Flynn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a absolutely wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.